the land of nascent wolves. Undead Busters IV, LQAI translation, one flop. In short, dear sister, to embody how the Valatian Empire ought to be from here on out, your work is going to be hugely important. This is a job that'll go down in history. Medium. I dunno what you're saying, but that sounds awesome, big bro. The back and forth of booming voices resounding through that imperial chamber hardly seemed fitting for the crystal palace of the imperial capital of Lupugana, the very axis of the land of the sword wolf that was the Valatian Empire. The Crystal Palace, famed for its brilliance and hailed as the most beautiful castle in the world, had always been said to owe that splendor to the chill, sharp air, and to the unrelenting tension that never slackened, a discipline that extended to even the lowliest private. Precisely because of that, for someone to fill the Crystal Palace with such restless clamor, other than Cecilis Segmont, the Blue Lightning, was quite unexpected. And on top of that, it was the Empress whom Vincent Valatia, the wise emperor, had welcomed. 8 years had passed since his ascension to the throne. Lauded throughout his reign as an exceptional ruler with remarkable ability, Vincent had, until now, never taken a consort. With the empire still bearing deep wounds from the recent great disaster and the people's hearts unsettled, their attention was fixed on the presence of this new empress, Flop. Which is to say, let me repeat myself, right now you're in a place where everyone around you is really watching you. With that in mind, tell your big brother one more time what you were doing just now. Medium. Sure thing. Sittin' still in some frilly dress just ain't my style. So I did training and mock battles with all the soldiers at the castle. I won a whole bunch. Letting out a drawn-out Flop O'Connell faced his sister, Medium O'Connell, the Empress, who had answered with a vigorous grin and a crisp thumbs-up. Flop. Medium. Flop. Pass. Right now, His Excellency the Emperor Kun is laying the groundwork to change all sorts of things, but the faith in the Empire's iron-blooded precepts is still deeply rooted. Medium. So what do you mean by that? Flop. It means it's really admirable for you to show that you've actually got the skills to back it up. Medium. Woo, heck yeah, big bro. I'm gonna hone my skills even more. Beaming as he returned her thumbs up, Flop heard her vow aloud to redouble her efforts. Incidentally, during the drill Medium had joined, the soldiers had received a direct imperial decree. Do not go easy on the Empress. So the results she'd achieved were by no means the product of favoritism. Flop. In truth, with His Excellency the Emperor Kun rushing about dealing with the aftermath of the great disaster, it would hardly be strange if there were those who took aim at his position and plotted to usurp the throne. The Empress, too, needs at least the strength to protect herself. Medium. Big bro, you say something. Flop. Nothing at all, dear sister. Just keep on as you are bright and brisk, and make His Excellency the Emperor Kun fall head over heels for you. Medium. Yeah, right, big bro. All at once, Medium, who had been so full of momentum, seemed to lose steam. In front of her suspicious older brother, she pressed the tips of her fingers together in front of her chest and fidgeted. Medium. Big bro, I want to ask you something. Flop. What is it? If it's something this brother can answer, fire away. Medium. If I'm gonna make Abelchin all melty, what should I even do? With her cheeks faintly flushed and her words coming a touch faster than usual, his sister posed her question. Flop brought a hand to his narrow chin and said, I see. And then Flop, this calls for an emergency meeting. To Yorna, so is that why you summoned me then? In the invited imperial chamber, Yorna Mishigyr heard the Empress's reason for calling her, and at the adorably wholesome nature of the consultation, she let her lacquered lips relax while she gently twirled the kaisru in her hand. There had been many summons to the castle for Yorna, one of the 9 divine generals, but circumstances being what they were, she had never once obeyed them. This time, however, with the great disaster concluded and the situation changed, and with the summons coming not from the Emperor or the Prime Minister-led council, but from Medium, now the Empress she decided to answer. After all, Yorna, in former lives as Iris and as Sandra Benedict, had several times been chosen to sit as a consort to the Valatian Emperor. She felt more confident than anyone that she could understand the feelings of Medium, who had been plucked up from an ordinary imperial subject and named Empress in one stroke. Even so, she hardly imagined the consultation would be not about the mindset of an empress, but of a good wife. Medium, me and Big Bro were both abandoned kids, so I dunno what kind of person makes a good wife or a good mom. So I figured, if I'm gonna ask anyone, it's gotta be you, Yorna-chan. Yorna. My, being chosen honors me, sugar. That said, the way I love and the way I like to be loved are rather my own. If that can serve as a reference, I shall be delighted. Medium, it will. Totally will. Sorry, Yorna-chan, you're busy rebuilding Chaos Flame and all. Beaming, hands pressed together over her chest, Medium's sunny words made Yorna lift a hand to her lips and slowly shake her head. At present, the demon city of Chaos Flame, where Yorna lived, had been razed in the battle that heralded the great disaster, and she was hounded by the work of its restoration. Even so, the citizens of the demon city were brave and stalwart. Instead of sinking into gloom over the ruined streets, her beloved children were all spurring themselves on to make a city even better than before. If Yorna stayed there, she would only make those beloved children fuss over her too much, so in a way, this timing suited her just fine. Yorna, besides, I needed to speak with His Excellency about the matter of Tanza anyway. Medium. Gotcha. Then I'm glad, Serena. Good grief, Midi. Are you relying only on general first-class Yorna? If so, there is nothing quite so lonely for me, your foster parent. Medium. But I've never thought of you as my foster parent, Serini. You're the one who told me to think of you as my big sis, remember? The one who creased her brow at the ever-innocent Medium was another person present for this parlor talk, a fierce beauty with a sword scar on her face. Serena Drakroy, High Countess. She, too, was someone Medium had summoned for counsel. And Yorna. Well then, darling, how about you? Do not just sit there quiet, say a little something. Madeline, I, the dragon, have friggin' no interest in the petty troubles of humans. I only keep an eye on Medium because she's Balleroy's friggin' little sister. Medium. Madeline Chan's my snack buddy. When I feel lonely eating snacks by myself and Abel Chin's busy, she keeps me company. As if to back up Medium's words, Madeline did not join the discussion. She simply reached single-mindedly for the tea sweets on the table, crunching away. Quite adorable for someone of the outrageous dragonkin race, almost like a small animal. Yorna very much wanted to pat her head and pull her in for a cuddle, but she imagined she would be scolded like a blaze from hell if she tried, so she restrained herself. Be that as it may, Yorna. To make His Excellency all melty, is it? Sounds fun. Serena, I agree. Not to be rude, but both I and General First Class Yorna had more than enough qualifications to be candidates for His Excellency's consort. He cast us aside, and of all people chose Midi. It is absurdly entertaining. Yorna, if we speak only of designs, Prime Minister Burstets, so vexed by the succession, must surely have thought to make Madeline, too, a candidate to be His Excellency's consort. Madeline. PFF cough medium. Wah, Madeline Chan, you okay? You were a candidate to be Abel Chin's bride. Madeline. TH the dragon knows friggin', nothing about that, I shall friggin' ring the old codger later. At Madeline's tear-eyed vow of revenge, Yorna made a note to herself to go protect Burstets later, so the girl did not misjudge her strength. And in truth, Serena was not wrong. The demon city of Chaos Flame served as a refuge for beloved children who had nowhere to go. Seeking that protection, Yorna had indeed worked hard to win Vincent's favor. Yorna. I had thought for sure His Excellency fancied a more challenging kind of woman. Until the great disaster was weathered, he would welcome no one as a consort. That was Vincent's true conviction, and shameful though it was to admit, Yorna's provocations had been for naught. That said, considering Vincent's ties to Priscilla, she could only be glad she had failed. If it had been Priscilla, she might have laughed such a thing off as well. Thinking of her late daughter, Yorna lowered her eyes in quiet sorrow. Serena, HMPH. Still, asking for advice is a commendably modest attitude, Midi. In anything, you tend to play it by ear and leave success to momentum. That is who you are, is it not? Medium. As expected of you, Serini, you know me so well. But that's fine for other stuff. For Abelchin, that won't cut it, Madeline. And what is friggin' different when it is Vincent? Serena intentionally, and Madeline unconsciously shifted the topic away from Yorna's melancholy and started digging into the true heart of Medium's consultation. Yorna straightened her posture as well and waited for Medium's words, the focus of 3 women upon her. Under those 3 gazes, Medium hesitated for a while, choosing her words, and then Medium, "I just don't want to fail." Serena, "You fear failure, that is unlike you." Medium, "Usually, yeah, even if I mess up I think, welp, it couldn't have been helped, 'cause I gave it my all." But, Yorna, "But what sugar?" Medium, "When it's about Abelchin, I don't want to fail. Is that weird?" At Medium's question, asked with her brows drooping, Yorna felt something catch in her chest. In anything, it was only natural to not want to fail. All the more so in human relationships, so Yorna believed. But for Medium, that was not how it had been. Not until she began to worry like this over Vincent. Before Yorna could say, "What about that is strange, Madeline?" "It is not friggin' strange." Madeline denied Medium's anxiety in a small voice. "Madeline, when it is with your man, wanting not to mess up is friggin' natural. Even the dragon, when speaking with Balleroy, friggin', felt half happy and half anxious." Medium, "Did you ever say something weird or make him upset?" Madeline, "I friggin' did. When I told him that, Balleroy friggin' laughed." Madeline spoke with her eyes downcast, telling of a wound not yet healed, but she met Medium sincerely. Yorna had not had many points of contact with Balleroy Temiglyph, a former member of the 9 Divine Generals. Even so, she remembered him as a good man who cherished his flying dragons and held no prejudice. She also knew that, to the 3 others here, he had been irreplaceable. Medium, "Sounds like Big Bro Bal." Serena, "Not a bad answer. Well, naturally, I raised him. I could not scour out his lousy taste, though." Madeline, "You friggin' raised Balleroy." Serena, "I did. Consider it, and I am quite something, am I not? One became a divine general chosen by the dragon, and one is the empress of the empire. I may as well call myself the mother of the nation." Yorna, "That does seem a touch too dismissive of His Excellency's wishes." Serena, "Oh my, to hear that from none other than Yorna Mishigyr, the Empire's premier rebel, the flamboyant." At Serena's raised hands and mock surprise, Yorna could not help but let a soft "cuffoo" slip from her lips, and it spread to Medium, and, shockingly, even to Madeline. Seeing Madeline's lips faintly loosen, Yorna had a thought. "Yorna, how about this, then? I cannot promise it will soothe Her Majesty the Empress's worries, but we could set up a little club, just us, and meet like this from time to time." Medium, Really? But everyone's busy, right? Sereni, you can't, can you?" Serena, "Do not go making me the odd one out from a fun gathering. First of all, I am the Empress's mother. What reason would I have not to fly to you when you need me? I shall send as many dragon ships as it takes." Yorna, "And I expect that, hereafter, I can come and go in the imperial capital without being glared at by His Excellency or by General First-Class Gauze, so do ring me any time, sugar." Medium, "Sereni, Yorna-chan, thank you." Overcome with emotion, Medium sprang to her feet, squeezing Yorna's and Serena's hands in turn as she expressed her gratitude. Seeing how delighted she was, Yorna felt her proposal had been worth making. Then, at Medium's momentum, Madeline narrowed her eyes while toying with her hair. Madeline, "So you are not friggin' going to ask the dragon?" Medium, "Well, Madeline-chan, you always come to me anyway, so I kinda thought it was just normal for you to be there." You won't come." Madeline, "I did not friggin' say I would not." Hopeless girl, friggin' honestly. Told as if it were obvious by the wide-eyed Medium, Madeline bared her fangs and shouted, then let out a great sigh, looking not entirely displeased. At that uncandid reaction, Yorna met Serena's eyes, and the elder pair traded a shrug. Medium, "All right, now that I've got tons of stalwart allies, I'm invincible. Riding this wave, I'm gonna make Abelchin all melty, I'm gonna work hard to make him melty." Serena, "Indeed. His Excellency must see no one but our middy." Madeline, "They may as friggin' well tremble and wait." Yorna, "Goodness, this is starting to feel like a rather dangerous powwow." Be that as it may, Medium's pure feelings for Vincent, the feelings she voiced so boldly, were something Yorna desperately wanted to support. No, all 3 of them felt as one. Because watching that iron mask of Vincent's finally crack would, surely, be deliciously satisfying. 3 flop. And so that's how it is right now. An excessive amount of firepower is piling up around my little sister. Cecilis. Aha, so that's how it is. My, what a deployment to my taste, Mr. Advisor. I was wondering what exactly the post that sprouted up to replace Ubulk the Stargazer was supposed to do, but this is just the talent I wanted right now. Flop. Thank you, Lightning Kun. Hearing you say that makes all my efforts worth it. Out in front of the Crystal Palace, the two met, hit it off, and exchanged a firm handshake. They were Flop and Cecilis, two of the top 5 loudest voices in the imperial capital. For the record, the other fingers were Medium and Gaz Ralphon, with the last one being a rotating seat. Even for a loudmouth like Flop, running into the likewise loud Cecilis here was a surprise. After all, Cecilis and company were currently carrying an important duty entrusted to them directly by Vincent. Namely, hunting down the remnants of the undead scattered and lurking throughout Valatia. Cecilis, I'm thrilled we got to see each other again so soon. Niece Kun. No, Miss Spica. But did something go wrong, perhaps? The very idea of a problem that even Lightning Kun and Lady Arakia couldn't handle is scary to contemplate. Spica. You, as he patted Spica's head. She'd taken a shine to him and clung to him. Flop cocked his head, wondering why they had cut their journey short. Picking up on that, Cecilis cheerily began. Well, you see, and Cecilis, it isn't a problem so much as the kind of stylish happenstance that made me reevaluate the heavens' guidance. I'd like to ask His Excellency for a judgment on how to handle a certain person we picked up along the way. I personally think we don't even need to ask. Arakia, cut it out. Not funny. We're going to have His Excellency hear us properly. Compared to the riding high, all-jazzed Cecilis, Arakia's sour reluctance was plain as day. That said, this was, in its way, the two of them as usual. So then, just what was it they wanted Vincent to decide? Flop. Well, even if it's only a progress report, I'm sure His Excellency the Emperor Kun will be pleased to see your faces, and my sister will welcome you with open arms regardless. Besides, High Countess Drakroy and General First Class Yorna are both here now. You'd make their day if you met them. Arakia. Cecilis. Ho, Spica. Oh. Flop watched the three show 3 different reactions to his words. Spica rounded her eyes and glanced at the 4th member of their party behind them. Arakia pressed her palm over her eye-patched eye. Cecilis alone grew ever more delighted, and Cecilis. See, the heavens' guidance just like that. Everything converges toward a heart-thumping romantic drama. Throwing his head back, he laughed aloud. To be continued.